Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to a new live episode of He Said, He Said, He Said. What? What you all looking at? Oh, this right here? Oh, look. Last week, when we talked about bonnets and pajamas, I said, you know what? I can't talk about it if I haven't experienced it. So I went out and I got me a bonnet just to make sure that I know what it feels like since it's becoming the rage. And you all said bonnets should only be worn in the house. So I did it. Okay. I'm Alvin King. Enough clowning for you guys tonight. You know I wasn't going to keep this on all night, ladies and gentlemen. But welcome to a new live episode of He Said, He Said, He Said. A look at the world from a seasoned Black man's perspective, because one perspective just isn't enough. It is Friday, September the 12th. And before we get into tonight's conversation and some of the absolute circus of headlines this week, I want to begin with some gratitude. I want to thank everyone who tuned in for our season opener last Friday for our Let's Get Newsy show. Your support, the comments, the messages, and the love that you all gave. You just showed up in such a big way. And it was an incredible show, and we could not have done it without you. So again, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the well wishes. Thank you for being right back here with us tonight. So, I'm going to talk about this week because the news, baby, it has been giving me what I call "Are you serious?" energy every single day. But tonight, in our We See You, we have a very special guest joining us this evening, Rev.Dr. Darren W. Phelps, author of the new book, When the Church Makes Me Curse. And listen, the title alone deserves an offering. The title alone has already pulled half this audience right up to the altar, because some of y'all have had church moments that made you say words that are not found anywhere in the book of Psalms. So look, we cannot wait for our conversation with Darren. He's here and we're excited to share him with you. Now on to some headlines right now, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start with this man who has been on a full-blown promotion tour this week. First, he renamed a sporting event after himself. Then he went ahead and practically invented a Nobel Peace Prize in his own honor, a self-awarded Nobel Peace Prize. And at that point, I'm surprised that he hasn't declared himself the 13th month of the year. I mean, just a narcissist on the loose, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm going to shift a little bit to something that made me feel good. I call is really good news, some cultural news that actually made a lot of people smile. The 2026 Met Gala co-chairs have officially been announced, and baby, it is going to be a show with the theme costume art, focusing on the dressed body as an art form by pairing fashion with artwork. We're talking about the Queen Beyonce. We're talking about the other Queen, Venus Williams. And we're talking about the Queen of Cinema, Nicole Kidman. That alone right there is a theme. That's fashion. That's drama. That's elegance. And electricity wrapped up in one night. The 2026 red carpet Met Gala, it's already shaping up to be another moment in fashion history, you guys, because these three women, they will not come to play. All right. So I cannot wait for May for that to happen. And I'm going to shift back to politics for some headline news. Jasmine Crockett, who was pushed out of her district after that controversial Trump-approved redistricting. And she said, okay, watch this, because now she's running for the United States Senate. And let's be real, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump didn't see that coming. I know they didn't think that was going to happen. But that's what happens when you try to outmaneuver a Black woman with a law degree, some courage, and edges laid by the Holy Spirit. You hear what I'm saying? Jasmine, you can say she won't win, but I think you all need to put some optimism in her cup, because she has a good chance. Now, for the good news, because you deserve it, on December 6th on the Chicago South Side, a beautiful life-size statue of President Barack Obama was unveiled. I'm getting choked up. The kid from the neighborhood who took us all the way to the White House, a powerful moment, and yet not a single mention from the national news about it. Okay, but the Chicagoans said, don't you worry, we got you, brother. And they showed up in another way. And before I go on, there's one more moment of this person in the White House this week. Donald Trump interrupted one of the best shows that I love looking at every year. He hosted the 2025 Kennedy Center Honors last week and stood on that empty stage, looked out at a room full of America's greatest artists and called them miserable, horrible people. Did he know that these people were literally invited to this event? They got dressed up, they showed up, and you're going to stand there and insult them before they even had dinner? Ladies and gentlemen, we are currently living in a world where the script supervisor has just completely left the damn building. But last but not least, to drown out the chaos, let's center ourselves in something real, because on December 10th, this past Wednesday, 1964, at just 35 years old, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. received the real Nobel Peace Prize, the authentic Nobel Peace Prize, the legitimate Nobel Peace Prize. A reminder of what true leadership, courage, and conviction truly looks like, ladies and gentlemen. So on that note, that's some of the headlines that I wanted to share with you. Again, we have a great show for you tonight. Get ready for the chat, because Bobby, Sean, and I are coming for you guys. And if you all are ready, let's get on with the chat. Hey, wait a minute. Where you go? Oh, Norman. You know what? I love you, Norman. I love you, Norman.
Good evening.
Hey, fellas. Good evening. How y'all doing?
Good evening.
Good evening. I was trying to give y'all some headlines of what's been shaping up my world, in my house, in my living room, in my space.
That was a lot.
So I could be with you all. And that ain't even half of the stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
I know. But here we are. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Happy Friday to you. Happy Friday. We got a great guest tonight, ladies and gentlemen. But who wants to take you all want to say hello to our guests who have come in here that have come in here to see Darren? Because I've seen some people I ain't seen before.
But let's see who's in the house tonight.
Let me see. There's Rodney 4000. Never seen him before.
That's Rodney.
Rodney? Huh?
That's Philly Rodney.
Oh, Philly Rodney. Oh, he changed his name. Monica's back. Hey, Monica. Dot Smith is here. Monica said, oh, she greeted. And Monica spelled Sean's name right. Thank you so much. Thank you. Because Sean was getting he was getting salty. Y'all kept saying S-E-A-N. He was like,
no.
Hey, Monica.
Maurice Scott is here. How you doing, Maurice?
Yeah, he texted me and said, I'm watching Alvin in that turban. I was like, the
bonnet.
And I was like, he didn't tell us that was a bit of a surprise. So
it's like a cheeseburger. If you haven't had it, you don't know what it tastes like. So I had to put it on. I did get approval before I did it.
That was an interesting surprise, though.
I did get approval,
especially for someone who has no hair. But then again,
I don't know what they got up under
to wear a bonnet.
When they're at the gym. I don't know what they have up under their hair either. I just know it's wrong. That's all I know. It's wrong. But okay. But thank you, Bobby, and I love you too.
Love you,
I
man.
really do. I do. Ladies and gentlemen, if you all were not here last week, we introduced our new chat segment of how we want to get you all involved, and so we have a new way of doing our chat. We're gonna bring up a topic, and if you all have looked at the advertisement for this week, we are talking about dating, and the title is called Love, Life, and the Long Game, Dating in Your 40s, 50s, and 60s, aka Is This How We Date? Okay. And you know what, Bobby, Sean, and I, we're kind of seasoned, and we've kind of been through a couple of dates or two where we feel like we don't need to put up any disclaimer about our opinion on dating. So we're going to put up as we get into each segment, it's going to be 3. We're going to run through it, but we're going to put up a question that we want you all to weigh on, and we're going to leave it up while we're having the discussion. But for starters, let me go ahead and introduce this right here. Tonight, we're going to talk about something that every one of us does. If we're single, if we're dating, if we're married, we're gay, straight, queer, whatever, we all have to deal with dating at some point. Why is it still so important? Why does it get complicated? And why do so many of us stop dating the moment we step into commitment? But we're talking about in this conversation, we want to go a little bit deeper. And because dating at 25 is different from dating at 55, it's not the same thing. And for our core audience, those of us who are 40 and above, especially in that 50 to 65 sweet spot, dating, relationships, marriage come with a whole new set of truth, priorities, fears, desires, and expectations. So whether you're single, again, partnered, or married for decades, dating still matters for connection, for growth, and for intimacy, and for keeping the spark alive. So tonight, we're unpacking the good, the bad, and the hilarious on the downright confusing realities of dating. So I want Bobby and Sean for the panel. If you all could just take about 20 seconds each to say or answer, what does dating mean to you in this stage of your life? Sean?
I was hoping that Bobby would go first, but
Yeah.
Dating is a process, and it's internal and it's external. And what I mean is that internal, it is me and how I want to be my best self when I'm dating someone. Okay? And externally, I'm looking at how that person is responding to their environment, okay, how they're interacting. And so that's kind of like the beginning stages. But once getting to know someone and it becomes something more routine, for me, dating involves building a friendship, a relationship in that way first, building a foundation and going from there.
Okay. And Bobby?
I think for me, dating is that process of exploration. It's the prerequisite to really kind of making commitment to one another. It's the space of I'm getting to know you, you're getting to know me. We're figuring out what experiences we like together. So it's that process of really, and hopefully doing so from a place of authenticity, because I think a lot of times when you're dating, you're on your best behaviors, you don't belch, you don't do other bodily functions, you don't, all those things, because you're trying to also impress that person and really kind of mold and shape. So for me, it's that process of getting to know one another and determining whether or not there's potential for something greater, a higher level of commitment and exclusivity.
Well, for me, dating right now, where I am in my life, you have to come with some type of emotional maturity. And I used to think that I had to look, all over the place for emotional maturity, but it actually comes out sometimes. I can just see it now. If you don't have it, I'm going to notice it right up front. And I know that you're not the person for me. And when I say emotional maturity, people can look at me. First of all, we're all judged on looks. And so people will see us. They don't know how we work or whatever. They don't know all those little details. So I can tell when you sit down in a restaurant with me, whether or not you have emotional maturity. And so, and Maurice said, what partner? You'll get one, brother. You're going to get one. This question that's up here, I want the viewers to weigh in. This is for you as we talk about, real quick, this first topic that we're going to talk about is called, we're going to go into why dating still matters after 40. And the two questions that I want to pose to Bobby and Sean are, first of all, why is it still essential to date when we get to a certain age, whether single or married? And the other question is why, what's one thing that people forget about dating once they get comfortable with that person?
Well, first of all, I'm going to say I'm glad to see that we're looking for some of these comments, because when we put these yellow screens up, guys, we know that you all are always chiming in and sharing your thoughts and perspectives. So you can start letting us know your response to this question. But I will say to you that it's been a while since I've been actively dating on a regular basis. Certainly been sporadic dates here and there. But it's been a while since on a regular basis. But what I will say to you is that I believe that it's important to keep in mind, because when we are dating, we often do things that we set out to impress that person, to make a good impression, all of those things. And sometimes, those are the things that, endear you to a person. Their thoughtfulness, the special note that they wrote you, the text that, surprised you, your favorite dessert that you weren't expecting on that day. Those things are things that kind of build and bond, make a connection. And I think sometimes once somebody comes together, they're like, well, I don't have to do those things anymore because now we're in a relationship. And so I think, those things I think are nice to always kind of remind you of those things that initially attracted you and made you bond with that person.
Sean?
I hear you, Bobby, and I don't know, because when I hear you, Bobby, the thing that comes to my mind is when I hear folks talk about love language. And I'm still trying to figure out what do they mean by that. I know that there's this whole thing about love language, but it almost sounds like this over romanticizing of dating. I don't think it has to be that complicated or complex. And so for me, I'm a person who likes the simple thing, the little things, the small things. Those are the things that I look for in a date. When I see someone doing something kind, like holding the door open for a senior citizen, that gives me a clue that, okay, this person thinks about other people. And as far as myself, I want to always just be me. Okay. And if I find that they like me for being me, that encourages me to want to be more with them in terms of getting to know them and date them and learn everything about them, because I'm a person who believes in monogamy. I'm a person who likes to. I'm an Aquarius. I commit to an individual. I'm very, very loyal, and so when I'm dating, those things are going through my head, and so I don't know. I'm still dating. I don't go on a lot of dates, but
well, if you keep on, you're gonna have people calling in. So they're going to know we have to get over the show. But right now, he said date Sean in a few minutes, okay? Because you just put your resume out there. I'm about to tell some folks to call you. But
but let's not forget that there's also a physical component when it comes to dating, and the aesthetic part as well.
Of course. Well, I'm going to move on to segment number 2, ladies and gentlemen.
We had some responses, though. Didn't we have some responses?
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. Sean got me caught up. I'm telling my people.
Let's not forget our responses. People been
telling them to shut up. Maurice said, honestly, I think you should always date when you're in a relationship. I agree. Never take your partner for granted or treat them other than how you treated them when you first got together. Amen. And Rodney 400 said, it's easy to fall into a comfort zone and you forget to date. You must intentionally talk and make actual plans to date. Make it a priority. Amen. I saw something from Michelle. She said, baby, I date myself first. I also date several other people. I enjoy dating. You better date on, sister.
I love Michelle.
Date yourself and everybody else. Come on, girl.
And Ralston, who is a new person, I've never seen you, so thank you for being here. A shared effort and appreciation for each other keeps the magic alive. Amen. And Doc Smith said, if you are not living with your partner, I find that dating is the new I'm coming over to chill and watch Netflix. I enjoy going out on the weekend for a cocktail and dinner. I work hard during the week. Amen. Dot. Thank you all. Way
to come through.
Okay. See, I told you all. We said we're going to do this. So our next segment is called the realities, nuances, and pressure points of dating after 40. And the questions that I want to pose to Bobby and Sean, if I could have Norman to put up the second question for the viewers, the questions to Bobby and Sean are, what are today's biggest dating challenges you feel for people between 40 and 65? And the other question is, what do people in midlife really want from a partner?
Well, can I say something for that first question? I
You
think the
can,
biggest
and
challenge
you
is
got 20 seconds. Go ahead.
patience. That's the biggest challenge. People don't have patience when it comes to dating much anymore.
Because they want it right now.
They want it right now.
They want it right now, and they haven't given themselves a chance to get to know you. You know what I'm saying? Or they haven't given themselves a chance to get to know you, and vice versa. But they want it right now, and so I totally get that. I'm going to say, first of all, I don't have to deal with the nuances right now of like I did in my 30s and 40s, if you will, because I have actively sought a way of dating that makes me meet people where they are first. I don't try to figure out, just because you look a certain way or you make a certain dollar amount, that you're going to be the best thing since sliced bread. I look so beyond that. And real quick, Sean, those love languages that you talked about, they are real. They are real. And I often feel like if a person cannot tell, there's only 5 of them. And if you can't tell me what your love languages are, I just have to look at you. I just have to look at you and say, either you don't want to, or you don't know yourself. Because it's only 5. It's only 5.
I think for me, the challenge is a place of authenticity, like finding people who are really authentic and comfortable in their skin, just really being who they are and not trying to impress, people in inauthentic ways. I also find the challenge that my personal preference in terms of the way that I meet people is far more organic than what is commonplace today. Like most people that I know of who are dating and mainly doing so through technology, websites, things like, that's how they meet people. They're on sites, and it's not a place of judgment. It's just that does not feel, it's never felt very comfortable for me. I prefer more organic, meeting someone out, clicking, I don't do the blind date thing. I don't want anybody setting me up. That's not attractive to me at all. Like, you'd do better to have me there and that person there, and I not know that it's supposed to be a set. Like, I don't like the pressure of that kind of space.
So gone are the days of meeting you at the counter with
I mean, that's the way I prefer it. Like, you see somebody, you kind of click, it's like you get to talk, and you're like, you know what, I'd like to be in touch with that person. But that's just not how people generally engage around dating anymore. It's like through technology. So it's a gap for me.
It's a gap. All right, I'm going to get to our last question, and before we close, and this is for Bobby and Sean and the viewers also. Would you date? Oh, I'm sorry. Say that again.
We got some responses in here.
Oh, we got some response. I'm sorry. Thank you, guys. See, you all have to. You don't have to understand anything. I'm looking at 5 screens, though, you guys. So thank you so much, because you all are making that happen. So Rodney C said, I've been locked down for 17 years, but I see with my very eligible single friends, they have trouble finding happiness alone. Realize how amazing you are. Everyone else will see it. Amen. No, because I've had somebody tell me that my light was shining too bright. So you know what? So Michelle agrees with you, Bobby, and everything you said. And Ralston said, app culture. Many popular dating and hookup apps like Grindr and Tinder are heavily focused on younger users and short-term connections, often making men over 50 feel overlooked and objectified only for specific fantasies. Yeah. Amen. Yes. Amen. But know yourself. Okay, that's what I'm saying. And Maurice said, finding someone worth dating is more difficult. Keeping the relationship interesting and evolving is fairly easy. Okay. And Frankie Jordan, thank you for being here. Unfortunately, but true. And I'm thinking he's saying everything. He said, you know what? That's it. And Michelle Bowie said, I date me every day. Come on, Michelle. I date me every day. Date me every day. Okay. And you look good, Michelle. You do. And Maurice said, finding the boyfriend within will make things so much easier. Now, that's a line right there, Maurice. Mm-hmm. Thank you. All right, I'm gonna get to our third question because we got a conversation. You all got to stick with you, baby. When the church makes me curse. Okay. So my last question is, I'm gonna pose it to everybody. Would you date you right now? And if not, what needs work?
Yes, I would date me right now. I mean, I love me. I like me. Yes.
I'm with Sean. I at this stage of my life, I've never felt more comfortable in my own skin.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, now's the great time because I'm not trying to impress you. You don't need to have to try to impress. Let's just figure out what works for us together. But yeah, I would. And when you said what needs work, well, I'm of the school of belief that we should always be works in progress. I don't like the thought that, I'm this age now and I'm done and this is the way I'm going to be for the rest of my life. That would be limiting to me. But so I think there's always room for improvement. But I think yes, I it's not about blowing our own horn, but I've worked hard to be a decent catch, as one might say.
Yeah, and I agree, Bobby. I agree that the person I am today and loving me, I know that there's work in progress, and where I'm going to be in 5 and 10 years, I'm still going to be that person who is me, and I love me, but I think it's going to be a more evolved me. I'm not, and so there's always something to work on. I think for anyone who thinks that they don't have anything to work on makes them somewhat of a narcissist. Mm-hmm. So yes, you got to always be evolving, especially when you are dating and you're going to have a partner, because the two of you aren't going to be the same people when you're 35 versus 45 versus 65.
No.
Well, I want to thank you all. Believe me, we could have.
Answer the question?
I'm sorry, we could.
You're not going to answer. Would you date you?
Would I date me?
I was like, you asked us the question. You're not answering the question.
See, that's why I have two of them up here, y'all. You see, I was trying to skate on.
It's just trying to go on. I was like, but would you date you?
The answer is hell yes, flaws and all. I would date me. I am the best communicator in the world, and that scares a lot of people. And thank goodness I don't have to worry about that anymore. But that scares people. I will tell you what I want, what I like, what I need. The rest is up to you. I'm not going to twist your arm to do it. Maurice made a good point. What I did to get you is what I'm going to do to keep you.
That's what I'm saying.
And so that has always been my motto. So I'm an excellent person if I have a clone to date me. Okay, so that's what I would say.
Is the world ready for two of you?
Okay. That's what I would say. So I'm going to read some of these comments because I'm going to close out. But let me see who did we miss? And thank you all for joining us. And we knew you would. Let me see. I don't know. Oh, there it is. Finding the right boyfriend within will make things so much easier. That was Maurice. And Rodney said, I would date me, but I would need a little extra on the side. Come on now, Rodney. See, that's true. Drop the mic. Okay.
He's a hot mess.
Maurice said, no one can treat you better than you or know you better than you unless you don't love yourself. That's where it starts, Maurice. Come on with it. And Ralston said, yes, I would, because in order to love someone else, you have to love yourself first. I'm an overflowing vessel of love with continual growth and evolving together. Ralston, I gotta meet you sometime. I don't know where you are, Ralston. But Dot said, I'm amazing and I know how to date. I would absolutely date me and show you how to date me. There
you go.
You can't walk into it assuming. So, okay, ladies and gentlemen, in closing, I just want to let you all know that dating isn't just for the young, it's for the grown, the seasoned, and the wise. It's how we keep learning each other and ourselves Whether you're single, partnered, or married, 30 years dating is a choice we make over and over and over again. So keep dating out there, ladies and gentlemen. Keep dating because it feels so, as the song said, it feels so good. I'm not going to sing it, Sean. I'm not going to do it. All right. All right, you guys. So look, if you all are ready, and we see you, ladies and gentlemen, we have a wonderful guest. Thank you all for joining us tonight. And I want to go ahead and introduce him if I can. We're right on time. Can I do that?
Yes.
All right. Tonight, our special guest, Rev.Dr. Darren Phelps, is a father, grandparent, and ordained minister in the Christian church, Disciples of Christ, whose life's work sits boldly at the intersection of faith, justice, and radical inclusion. A former educator, community activist, and nonprofit leader, he brings a powerful blend of lived experience and prophetic truth telling to every space he enters. A proud member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, Dr. Phelps is also a lover of travel, spades, cartoons, beaches, and long bike rides. These are the joys that keep him grounded in what Howard Thurman called the sound of the genuine. His new book, When the Church Makes Me Curse, is a courageous, heartfelt offering for anyone seeking healing, honesty, and transformation in the face of spiritual harm. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome in our We See You, Dr. Darren Phelps. Dr. Phelps.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us on our date night right here. And he said, thank you. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. I need to bring you on the road with me if you're going to give that introduction. And I didn't know if I had to dance through the tunnel or something.
I'm completely bookable. So keep that in mind.
We just canceled the relationship just like that. It's over.
Thank you for being here, and congratulations on your new book. The title alone, again, just made me sit up and just say, we have to have this guy on the show. We have to have him. So thank you once again for being here. So, and I'm going to kick off the first question for you tonight, Darren. So tell us, what was the moment when you knew this book, When the Church Makes Me Curse, had to be written, and not just for the world, but for your own healing and survival?
Well, first, let me say thank you. You know, it's great to be able to be here and with your audience and all of the people that will be listening to this for years to come. You know, When the Church Makes Me Curse is not just about the cursing, right, or the damage that the church has done. But I want to just give you a little bit of context, and I promise you, I won't be like the preacher that said they're going to close and it takes them 3 times to close. I'm really going to close this time. Anybody know about church people, you understand what I'm talking about. So from my lens as an out gay, single, Black, ordained clergy in a mainstream Protestant denomination that has over 3,000 congregations, I have seen a lot over the years, right? I've been in ministry since high school. I will be 60 years old next year. And so that breadth of experience in life says a lot. And there have been often times where I've been asked the question, why are you still here? Why are you still there? Well, one, I'm here because I believe I'm called to do it. That's the simple, most correct answer that I can give. But the other reason is that I've learned that people who've been writing this book, and this is going into your question, Alvin, they usually write the book, and I can say this clearly, from the perspective of being excommunicated, where they've not Christian anymore, they're mad at the church, and they just had a lot of problems, right? I am blessed because I take all of myself, the totality of who I am, and still be able to have what I call great experiences inside of the institution. So I get to be able to say, sometimes this institution makes me cuss. There are people and places and things that, as I've shared in the book, were not prepared for me. And so there were many moments. I wouldn't say that there was one moment, but this book started about 1.5 years ago. I was on a silent retreat. I get to mentor young leaders over the years, and I was just sitting there thinking about it. Now, if you read through the book, you'll see where I've written litanies, that I have written a letter to myself. I wrote a letter to my children. each one of those started forming the pieces of making the book. And as I would share those things over the year, people were like, wow, this is pretty profound, because it wasn't churchy. It wasn't a 1, 2, 3 step. This book is not about how to get your life together, how to be inclusive, how to like gays. I talk about sexism. I talk about racism. I talk about all of those other things that happen in the life of the church. So to answer your question in its simplest way, it was in me all throughout my life. And I believe that just giving birth to it was the right time to be able to put it in writing so that I could share it in a more organized fashion.
Thank you. Thank you, Darren. All right.
And I want to say thank you as well. And I do want to say thank you for your openness. It's nice to hear people who are willing to be vulnerable about who they are and where they are, particularly in this day and age. So again, thank you, Darren. But let me ask you this question because you were very, very open. Now, when it comes to what you talked about in terms of the collision between your sacred calling and institutional harm, can you share a moment when those two forces hit head on, and how you found your way through that tension? Okay, because there's this collision between sacred calling and institutional harm.
Sure. So I can name many examples, but let me give you one. As I'm moving to celebrating my brother's birthday. My brother was murdered in 1996, July 31st to be exact. And why this is important, and it connects to what you're saying, is because the church taught me how to lie. They taught me that I'm supposed to always have it together. They taught me that I'm not supposed to show any emotion unless I'm on some protest somewhere, right? And show some consorted, some organized anger and disgust about the atrocities that's happening. But they taught me how to lie. And that institutional harm of holding that in, can you imagine having your brother murdered? I actually showed up the same Sunday after learning of my brother's death. And people were like, oh, you're being strong. That's great. That's wonderful. But inside, my body was ripped apart. Now, I'm sharing this as this is happening yesterday to you all in your audience, but this was 1996. So along the journey, having people and a therapist, and every now and then having some good conversation with some nice adult beverages to help to keep the balance of life, you know?
Right.
And I found that the reality is that people want you to be certain things to them, but you have to be for yourself first. And what was important to me is how I see God, how I understood God in healing and the perspective. I no longer have to carry that weight. One of the things that's liberating for me in seminary, we had a book that was called Our Body Keeps Score. And it's amazing to me how much of our bodies we absorb, and often we're made to. So that institutional harm, Sean, when you talked about it, I was taught to lie from the church, to hold it in, to carry the yokes of the burdens of the people. That is not realistic. That is not healthy to your mind, body, soul, or spirit.
Wow. Yeah, I'm scared.
All right.
Why are you scared?
Because you know the truth can rattle you, and that the truth. And I'm not speaking for you, Sean, as far as your fear is concerned. I'm sitting here feeling something too, and the truth can rattle you.
Yeah.
So that's all I can.
But can I also add to your question? The church healed me because the hymns and the songs and the mothers of the church, they were in a place where they didn't know. Sometimes it's a child who ran and gave you a hug and told you you're wonderful, thank you for that, gave you a piece of candy that had been sitting in their pocket for months and months and months. Those are the moments where you could see God. And I talk about that in my book, that sometimes sitting by myself on the beach and being in the presence of God and being in that spirit is powerful, right? So that institution is what it is. As I talk about in my book, it was not prepared for me. It was not prepared for me. I'll tell you a quick joke, and I know we got to move on. But when I went to undergrad, and my mother took me to the airport, and you know, I was a minister. I was in high school. I was a minister, and she said, "I'm praying that your mouth doesn't get you in trouble." Not, oh, do well in school. Not that, do well in undergrad. If you need more money on your card, we had cards back in the day. None of that. Because the thing was, there was something in me that I learned a long time ago, is that when God converted, right, called me, that Saul tendency, that tendency to move and to be stubborn and to resist foolishness never changed. God never took that away from me when I moved into other spaces of my life.
But it speaks to the fact that, even as a reverend, you are still human. You are still Darren.
Oh, yeah.
And clearly your mother was like, you may have had a calling, but I'm saying to you also that I want to make sure that you are indeed making sure that your mouth is
I'll
right.
let you tell her that, but I don't think that's quite what she meant. She just didn't want to get a call. That's what.
But it makes, a lot of times when we look at our clergy, we don't necessarily give them the space for humor as well. And
Sure.
humor seems to be a thread through your storytelling.
Yes.
Actually. And so I'm just curious if there has been an example, as a church leader, where you have literally been led to laugh out loud. And even if it were at a point where it may not have been the appropriate thing to do, but
yeah. It's interesting that you mentioned that question, because one of the final 3 chapters that was added to the book, because we had readers read them, was the book on holy laughter. And there's a chapter in that, because I would laugh at the atrocities or when people would say things to me. But laughter and good humor has always been a part of who I am. And I think it came from, being an elementary school teacher. It came from a lot of different ways. It came from growing up in the space where we were playing out in the street. So laughter and humor and those songs and people double dutching and all that was always a part. It was the thing that saved us, in some regards. So I would say, and there were moments where you could break away and have laughter, and it really helped. Real laughter, not just the laughter you get in those moments,
It's human.
Yeah. And I would say this, Bobby, I had to give myself permission to do that. Because again, the institution does not allow you to do that. If you read the letter to my children, all of that, we taught rituals. We taught how to behave, how to be responsible, how to give your Easter speech. But we did not talk about the real fellowship of with God, yourself, and with your neighbor.
Yes.
Wow. Darren, in my introduction of you, I talked about your extracurricular things that you do outside of the pulpit, travel, spades, biking, your dog, cartoons, beaches, all of that feels deeply connected to your spiritual grounding. So my question is, how do those joys sustain your ministry and your voice as a prophetic storyteller?
Yeah, I would say if I didn't have balance, and we often will say that, I would not have my sanity. If I did not intentionally have laughter, and this ties into laughter, I love my cartoons. Sometimes my dog gets on my nerves. He thinks he runs the house. Like, we have all of that great relationship. But how it has been intrinsic for me is that I'm a scheduled person. I tend to be very much, this is what I'm doing by the hour. But here's the thing that's going to surprise you, Alvin. When I'm on vacation, I'm the person that will get up in the morning and say, hey, I'm going to jump out of a plane today. And if I'm with people, they'll say, what? Huh? Because I surprise them. But part of the balance of life is not to get stoic. We're talking about relationships, right? And dating. I don't want it to be stale. One of my biggest fears, and I don't have many fears, is to grow old and bitter. That's one of my greatest fears. And so when you talk about cartoons and laughing, there are times where people have been in my house, my kids, and they're like, oh, we know what time it is. Arthur's coming on, or I Love Lucy's coming on. That's right. And you need to be quiet or go in the other room.
Well, I don't know. It is you, Darren, but real quick, I just want to, these viewers have come in, you are touching them left and right. And I'm going to start with Ralston, who said, for some, the truth hurts, especially if you aren't emotionally healed and able to recognize it and accept it. Then Dot Smith, she loved what Rolf said. And I think Dot is a female. And Ralston also said, I've always been told also my mouth about his mouth, so he shares that same that same experience that you had. And people, and who's the Bertello? Let me see. Berto, thank you for joining us tonight, Berto. People forget that clergy are human. and everybody else is giving you amens.
Amen.
Exactly.
Amen.
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 So
Amen.
that's what you're getting. I'm
That's-
sorry, and I didn't mean to interrupt. You were about to finish. I didn't know if I want to take
No,
you there.
I mean, when
Okay.
you're talking about the balance, this didn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
And I would dare say the tragedies in therapy and good friends, being in a place where your ex cheats on you, these kinds of things happen. Listen, let me be completely transparent. Not that I haven't, but when you are transparent and you share it out there, it gets out there. So having my father murdered when I was 7th grade, my brother murdered in 1996, burying a grandchild. Listen, if you walk in my shoes, that means you got to also carry and learn to balance that weight. And so people have run from the church. The church has pushed people away. And yeah, we got a lot of work we've got to do. But I talk about it, this rage, this faith, this resilience, there's this always constant balancing of the life versus me. But I'm at a place now where I'm blessed to be in it so I can have the voice that I have and sing the songs of Zion next to somebody who may not like me or may not like some parts of who I am. And that has to be their problem, not my problem.
Well, I have to say that,
amen. Amen. Okay.
well, I reiterate the amen, but I do have to say that when it comes to cartoons, I do find that they can be healing, a place for stars. I love X-Men, and I watch the animated series over and over again, so I completely get it because there's some truth in some of those animated stories. But in hearing you, I'm actually very humbled right now because just when I think that I went through a lot, I'm hearing your story, and it sounds like you went through you learned a lot from some hard lessons.
Sure.
Some very, very hard lessons. And I am very, very curious as to how do you show for other people having gone through those hard lessons? And can you give us an example of one of those hard lessons that was learned?
Yeah, so I mean, there's been many, but I would think I have a shoebox in my house of death threats that I had in the last church that I pastored.
Wow.
And so this is fairly recent. I've been here in Houston for the last 3 years in this role and been a disciple for, 25, 27 years. So it's been a long time being a part of this denomination and the work that's going on. But can you imagine serving in the totality of who I am and getting death threats? And many of those, and I talk about it, they would, put their name attached to it. So because of I am who I am, if you ever noticed, I could be a little bit bold and a little feisty. I would read those letters on the pulpit on Sunday. And I would offer prayers for people who felt the need to write me a hate letter. And so I think I'm answering your question, Sean. Sorry, I'm drifting a little bit. But the reality is that those moments, right, that rage and that frustration, we had to take the power away and the fear away, which helped me to sort of involve more in ministry. I think I drifted a little more from your question. Sorry. I'll blame it on Alvin and Bobby.
What? Don't do that. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Well,
But what I was getting at is when you talk about those things that happen, I believe that was the core of some of your question. You're not prepared for those things, but we should be prepared when we're living our authentic self, like for opposition, for struggles and stresses and things of that nature. So life happens. And I would also share with this to you too, Sean. I wouldn't take anything away that's happened to me in my life. Amen. Because all of those pieces made me who I am. Kinder, nicer, humble. I believe my stubbornness has saved my life. My ability to say, there's no way in hell I'm going to die from this. Get up, keep crying, keep moving. So I believe all of those moments. It also helped me to see who are my friends and who are my foes very quickly. It helped me to land on my feet, because that's just part of my DNA. So I think I've now answered your question.
Well, you talk about your life experiences, obviously, and how they impact you and influence your overall experience as a Black, gay, ordained minister. And so I'd love to hear an example of how you use all of that to create kind of like the radical welcome for those who are under your leadership.
Yeah, so let me say, Bobby, there's not one slice of me that I use more than the other. I try to make sure that there's a balance of the totality of who I am. I know when I come in the room, you're immediately going to see a male identified Black or African American man. I get that. I also have a place of some privilege because of the position that I hold in the denomination. I get to make decisions and help them make some movement around some things in the denomination. So I would say to you, the simplest way to answer that question is just being gentle and be aware that people haven't had the journey where I am. The wonderful, beautiful thing about being in the denomination that I am is that we get a chance to allow other people with other thoughts and other opinions. I think once I got free, that everybody had to think like me and feel like me, then what happens in your question about how do I embrace, how do I engage, how do I do that? I meet people where they are. And I hate saying that because people say, I meet you where you are, meet you where you are, but you've got biases. You've got your own stuff.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
I have to own my biases, Bobby, to be able to own them that, hey, I expect or I need or I deserve, or how come you're not? And then I'm getting judgmental about that. So I would say, Bobby, to answer that question, and again, hopefully I'm answering it, is really just about being clear, about being respectful, right? And my role is pastoral care. I'm giving people what I would want. So when I get people say, hey, we're glad you came to see me or glad you called me or whatever it is, I'm just giving you what I would want in the same situation.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Yep.
I'm glad that I have this question here because this tickles me. Darren, if you could sit down with your younger self, little Darren, because I have a little Alvin, he runs around here. The one who was just stepping into the ministry, your younger self, what story from your journey would you tell him to prepare his heart?
Well, Alvin, first of all, that younger guy, did not grow up in church. So we were the Easter crowd. And this always surprises people, but I did not grow up in church. My grandfather was a pastor, uncle was a pastor. I found God by running away from home. I grew up in a home that was filled with domestic violence. I watched my mother being thrown down the steps. One of my stepfather tried to burn us in the house, right? So these real experiences, and all this can be proven as true, I would tell that Darren to not let your tears stop you. Because I was also the boy in school who was flipping the tables because I had anger. I learned later on that a part of the reason why I was angry so much is because, hell, there was so much violence in my house and frustration that, and I'll put a little piece in for relationship. That's why I don't do well in relationships where I don't know if you've ever been with anybody, they want to yell and scream. I don't do well with that. Because even in these years, it still sends me into a quiet space. So I would tell him to talk to somebody, even though I didn't have the words. We didn't know what to label that, but also to not allow your tears to make you stop, because I stopped when I should have kept going. It wasn't until I got older into ministry in high school that I realized I need to keep going. There's no other choice. Because stopping or giving up is not an option.
Not an option.
And if you ever get an email from me, Alvin, it says keep pressing.
It does.
It says keep pressing. That's not some cute mantra.
It does. And I've gotten lifted from them. Keep sending them, please.
Yeah, but that's it. Yeah. So that's what I would tell that younger person. I would.
Thank you. All right.
One of the other things that, seems to present itself periodically in your writing is being sometimes caught off guard by the faith or the courage that others have exhibited around you. How about an example of one that kind of surprised you?
When I pastored in Florida for those years, there was a woman, she's deceased now. She lived to 101. And I went to visit her one time. And you expect people, you have a judgment, you have a bias that they're going to be set in their ways or whatever it was. She wasn't expecting me to come and visit her in the hospital. I had only been there a couple of months in this pastorate. This is just before COVID had hit. And I remember she grabbed me by my face and she told me from this point on, I was her child. And she meant that from the day until the day she died. She treated me. I mean, I've got puzzles and things in the house where she has handmade things at 99, 98,
Wow.
100 years old and
Yeah.
sent them to me even when I moved, you know. That surprised me. And she was always put together, always together. But that surprised me. And I do believe, I truly believe that God assigns us angels and people who will come in and just give you that breath of that strength sometimes when you don't need it.
Yeah.
So we would sit there, play cards, do puzzles, do whatever. And she wasn't trying to tell me what to do. She wasn't asking. She wasn't gossiping. She was merely there as a motherly presence for me. And I didn't realize how much I needed that until she died.
An unexpected surprise.
That's
a gift.
exactly right. It was a gift that I will always cherish. I've got pictures in her house, in my house. I don't even have anybody else's picture up, but her picture is. No, I do, but you know, I'm just saying, I have her picture up.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you. Yep.
Yeah, again, I'm very impressed still. And we heard Alvin mention earlier all the roles that you have taken on throughout your career, a plethora of them. And I'm curious about those roles, if you will. But basically, in those roles, how have they shaped you in terms of your understanding when it comes to, let's say, justice, leadership, or I guess something you call the radical welcome, if you will? I want to explain that, though, because I'm not quite with that.
Yeah, I should have said that each one of your questions could take me an hour to really unpack. So I hope I'm giving.
The show is an hour. We should point out the show itself is an hour.
No, so
you know, if I was not in ministry, I would most likely still be teaching first or second grade. And I remember in my early days working for the Y and coming across children who had not been fed, had not been bathed. Like there were just realities in that. And even though I lived and grew up in Queens, we had a home. There was all that violence and all that stuff. And we had poverty that still happened in that house. I don't know how to explain how I was birthed into this social justice movement. I mean, my mother was a dashiki wearing, Afro wearing, protesting kind of person. You know, my grandfather was in Harlem pastoring. And so it was just what you saw. But I can answer this question for you and say the foundation, because I can give you examples of the protests and the awards and things like that. But I want to really take you back to my great grandmother. Her name was Jackie Robinson. She was married to William McKinley Robinson. And one day, again, going back to my mouth, we had to sit at the children's table. And I've told this story countless times because it's so true. She sat us down and I asked who smelled. What was that smell? And she slapped me and I fell on the floor. This is the only time Grandma Jackie ever lost it. And at that moment, she told me, don't you ever talk about people like that. And I never seen Grandma Jackie upset like that before. I would dare say that shaped me immediately. And she would make me every single time eat last, serve them first, eat last, clean up. And it was ingrained in me. Then when I went to school and college or served other churches, I had pastors who would say, hey, you going to serve here and do your practicum? Well, are you willing to clean the bathrooms? Are you willing to open the doors and greet the people? There are some people who couldn't handle that. Their egos just couldn't handle the servitude. So what I say is it was just built into me. And then I got joy meeting the people. Then I got joy. Then there was a connection, you see? So so I don't know how to answer that about the social justice. It's not one moment. There was just, if I go back, I'd say, that, but it just became my life and it just became my passion in pieces. Yeah.
Beautiful. Servant leadership. I love that.
It just is. And I try to do it well. I mean, Wednesday, and another thing I'll tell you, Sean, it's so ingrained in me that last week, my aunt on my mother's side died. And then on my father's side, someone else died, right? So we had an uncle and an aunt pass. Well, when my uncle passed away, it was Tuesday. That Wednesday morning, I changed my schedule and I went to a food pantry. And I went to serve at the food pantry because he was a giving person. And I needed to be in a place where I was around other folks, you know? So here you got 155 people that we served on that day and all these workers. And I saw God in that moment. I was blessed in that moment and came home, ate and chilled. and of course got my cartoons on. But
Well,
that's the life I live. It's just who I am, But anyway, go ahead.
no, Darren, I really don't want to let you go, but I have to first of all, thank our viewers, because this conversation is truly engaging, and Darren has made that so happen. So thank you for sticking around. We're going to go over a little bit, which we can, Darren. I have I only had one question, but I want to give you the opportunity before I ask the last question to tell people what they can expect when they get your book, which is available now on Amazon, and you should go and get it. Okay.
Yeah. So what you can expect is exactly how I'm speaking now and talking now, right? We had time, I would read some of the excerpts from that book, but it runs the gamut from the traditional ways of writing. But in some cases, like, for example, when I am talking about the affirming spaces, and you should know when people talk about church hurt, if I were to think about the majority of my church hurt, it was experienced in affirming spaces. And I would say almost 75 to 85% of my church hurt happened in affirming, quote unquote, affirming spaces. Let's just be clear about that. But I write a letter to my children. I've got litany in there. But at the end of the book, Alvin, there is some questions, some reflections, because this book is not about a 1, 2, 3 stop, right? Do this, do that, do that. It is thought-provoking. It is for you to continue to share. When it went to the editors the first time, they said, well, we're going to get a team together, do some readers. When the readers read it, they helped me. They helped me to sort of think about some other pieces in there. And so it's going to be personable. It's very real. It's vulnerable. The chapters are sometimes just 1 pages. Some of my friends call them a 1, 2, 3 sucker punch because, you will expect to be able to see rage, faith, resilience, and back again, in the way that the journey is from the lens of me, right? Because I am not leaving the church. I didn't start something else. I'm a Christian. I believe in God, and God bless people who have other theological understandings. We need that, right? But again, that's my perspective in the book that I'm writing from my lens, my holistic space. But you will also see my hurt and my tears and my holy rage. You will see me cuss. You will see me talk about the DL preachers when they try to slip me their cards, and I name the event. It's in the book. Oh yeah. About making sacred exits when it's time to pack your grip and get out of there. So
Amazon.
Anyway, I'll stop there.
Amazon. When the church makes me curse. Okay. Amazon by Dr. Darren W. Phelps. Darren, my last question to you before we let you go. Got to ask you, of course, this book is definitely a reckoning, as you have pointed out, but it's also an invitation. So if the church had the courage to truly listen to you, what is the first change you believe would transform it into a place where everyone belongs?
I would think, again, you needed 2 hours to answer that.
Okay.
I would say,
this is just 35 seconds.
Stop acknowledging the obvious and do what you're supposed to do and be the church.
Okay.
That's what I would say. I would absolutely say that. Yeah. And I talk about my denomination in there, about our unity versus conformity and all the things that go on in there. I do. I'm not trashing anybody, but we've got to bring it out. But I would say that would be the one thing. The hardest thing we would often say is change. But let me say this to you, Alvin. The hardest thing that I've discovered in the church is to grow, because you can't have change until you grow. I give this example all the time. You're not wearing the shoes you had when you were a toddler because your feet grew. And then you had to change your shoes. And I think we control the potential change, and then that stops, right? That blocks any growth that you can have. We got to grow, then change will be a natural order in the succession of life.
Ladies and gentlemen.
You have it.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're first of all, if you off the click or hit y'all can just put yeah. You can put I don't know what you got to put up on your screen, but take a moment to say thank you to this wonderful man of God who has taken his time.
It's great.
To be with us, Dr. Darren Phelps. thank you for being here tonight. Congratulations on your new book,
Yes.
When the Church Makes Me Curse. Okay. And I'm coming. Darren's in DC, and I'm going to
No, I'm in Houston. I've been in Houston.
You in Houston?
Yeah, I've been in Houston working. Yeah, I've been in Houston when I took this new role. Yeah.
I would have been driving around the city of DC trying to find you. Okay.
That's all right. Keep on driving.
Okay,
Somebody
but
find you.
I'm getting my book to you, and I'm going to make sure that I get my signed copy. But thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr.
Blessings
Darren
to you all.
Phelps.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Woo! You guys, wasn't that a great show? Wasn't that a great show? Thank you. Thank you.
Great guests and great participation from our audience, as always.
Yes,
Thank you.
Still a bit scared, but another topic.
Well, next week it will not be any different, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you can tune in, because I'm telling you, next week, our show, The Renaissance of Reggie Van Lee, Leadership, Legacy, and Living with Purpose. When I tell you next week is going to be another show, this is going to be another show. You need to stop in and see this man. So look forward to our announcements this week. And our words of the week came from, actually, was a quote that's a favorite of Darren. There is something in every one of you that waits and listens for the sound of the genuine in yourself. It is the only true guide you will ever have, by Howard Thurman. And I'm sorry that I botched that up, but that is a quote, ladies and gentlemen, that Darren loves. And again, I want to thank everybody for being on the show tonight. It was a great show. I'm moved by it. I'm kind of shaking a little bit. Okay. So
Great show.
Thank you. And we definitely look forward to seeing you next week on a brand new episode of He Said.
He said.
You all have a
You
great
guys
weekend.
next week.
Cup of coming. Okay.
Ciao.
Oh, and don't forget, please go to our YouTube page and subscribe, please, because this week, whatever happened last week, you all just created Mount Rushmore. So please tell a friend, go to our YouTube page and He Said Live and subscribe. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Have a great weekend. Stay warm, everybody.
Good night.